Chapter 7. The Testimony of Four Witnesses. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, we speak that we do know, and testify that we have seen, and ye receive not our witness. John 3:11. Although, out of these four men, only John was an actual witness of Christ's crucifixion, Matthew, Mark, and Luke were witnesses of the actions of those who accused him, and were responsible for his death either before or after the event. The series of appearances and trials for Jesus were peculiarly confusing because of the twisting and turning of events between Jewish and Roman leaders. To help clarify the sequence, let's first read a synopsis of events from Henry Halley's Bible Handbook. The Trial of Jesus. Told in Matt 26:57, 27:31, Mark 14:53, 15:20, Luke 22:54, 23:25, John 18:12, 19:16. There were two trials, before the Sanhedrin and before Pilate the Roman governor. Judea was subject to Rome. The Sanhedrin could not execute a death sentence without the Roman governor's consent. There were 3 stages in each trial, 6 in all. 1. Before Annas, John 18:12-24. About midnight, Caiaphas was high priest, but his father-in-law, Annas, who had been deposed 16 AD, still retained the influence of the office. The family had grown immensely wealthy through the trading booths in the temple. On the high priest of the Hebrew nation rests primary responsibility for the death of Jesus. 2. Before the Sanhedrin, in the house of Caiaphas, Matt 26:57, Mark 14:53, Luke 22:54, John 18:24. Between midnight and daybreak, this was the main Jewish trial. They condemned him on the charge of blasphemy, from his own acknowledgement that he was the Son of God. Mark 14:61-62. Then, while waiting for daylight, they mocked him. This was when Peter denied him. This session, being in the night, was, by their own law, illegal. 3. At daylight, the Sanhedrin officially ratified its midnight decision, Matt 27:1, Mark 15:1, Luke 22:66-71, to give it the appearance of legality. The charge was blasphemy, but with Pilate that would have little weight. So, for him, they concocted the charge of sedition against the Roman government. Their real reason was their envy of Jesus' popularity, Matt 27:18. 4. Before Pilate, Matt 27:2, 11-14, Mark 15:1-5, Luke 23:1-5, John 18:28-38. Shortly after daylight, Jesus made no reply to their accusations. Then Pilate took him within the palace for a private interview, which further satisfied him of Jesus' innocence. Learning that Jesus was from Galilee, Pilate sent him to Herod, who had jurisdiction over Galilee, Matt 27:11-25. 5. Before Herod, Luke 23:6-12. This was the Herod who had killed John the Baptist, and whose father had murdered the children of Bethlehem. Jesus refused to answer any of his questions. Herod mocked Jesus and sent him back to Pilate. 6. Before Pilate again, Matt 27:15-26, Mark 15:6-15, Luke 23:13-25, John 18:39-19:16. Pilate attempted to go over the head of the rulers to the people, but the packed court chose Barabbas. Then Pilate ordered Jesus to be scourged, hoping that would satisfy the multitude. His wife sends word of her dream. Pilate is amazed at the calm majesty of Jesus under the crown of thorns. But there are rumblings of a rising riot and threats to report to Caesar, and Pilate gives sentence. Bible Handbook Henry Halley, page 440. In a court of law, both then and now, among requirements for judgments against a criminal is to provide witnesses and to hear their testimonies. Let us now consider the testimony of 4 witnesses who personally knew Jesus and who testified to what they saw and heard: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew. Matthew was a Jew, and his original name was Levi. The name Matthew was probably adopted as his new apostolic name. His home was at Capernaum. His business was the collection of dues and customs from persons for goods crossing the Sea of Galilee, or passing along the great Damascus road, which ran along the shore between Bethsaida, Julis, and Capernaum. He appears to be a man of wealth. Christ called him from his work to be his disciple. He became the author of the Gospel of Matthew, which was written at least 20 years later. There is a legend that he died a martyr in Ethiopia. Smith's Dictionary of the Bible, pages 387-88. Jesus saith unto them, Did ye never read in the Scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner? This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes? Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of God shall be taken from you, and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof. And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard his parables, they perceived that he spake of them. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitude, because they took him for a prophet. Matt 21:42-46. And it came to pass, when Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, Ye know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. Then assembled together the chief priests, and the scribes, and the elders of the people, unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Jesus by subtilty, and kill him. But they said, Not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people. Matt 26:1-5. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus, to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses, and said, This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God, and to build it in 3 days. And the high priest arose, and said unto him, Answerest thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee? But Jesus held his peace. And the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus saith unto him, Thou hast said. Nevertheless I say unto you, hereafter shall ye see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and coming in the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, He hath spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witnesses? Behold, now ye have heard his blasphemy. What think ye? They answered and said, He is guilty of death. Then did they spit in his face, and buffeted him, and others smote him with the palms of their hands, saying, Prophesy unto us, thou Christ, who is he that smote thee? Matt 26:59-68. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away, and delivered him to Pontius Pilate the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? See thou to that. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple, and departed, and went and hanged himself. And the chief priests took the silver pieces, and said, It is not lawful for to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. Matt 27:1-6. Mark was one of the evangelists and the probable author of the gospel bearing his name. His Jewish name was John, see Acts 12:12, and he was a cousin of Barnabas of Cyprus, the great friend of St. Paul. Mark had an intimate acquaintance with the apostle Peter, for St. Peter calls him Marcus, his son. See 1 Pet 5:13. We first hear of Mark when he accompanied Paul and Barnabas on their return from Jerusalem to Antioch, 45 AD. We find him at Paul's side during that apostle's first imprisonment at Rome, 61-63 AD. Ecclesiastical tradition affirms that St. Mark visited Egypt, founded the Church of Alexandria, and died by martyrdom. Smith's Bible Dictionary, page 380. After 2 days was the feast of the Passover, and of unleavened bread, and the chief priests and the scribes sought how they might take him by craft, and put him to death. But they said, Not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar of the people. Mark 14:1-2. And Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went unto the chief priests, to betray him unto them. And when they heard it, they were glad, and promised to give him money. And he sought how he might conveniently betray him. And immediately, while Jesus yet spake, cometh Judas, one of the 12, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. And he that betrayed him had given them a token, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he, take him, and lead him away safely. And as soon as he was come, he goeth straightway to him, and saith, Master, Master, and kissed him. And they laid their hands on him, and took him. Mark 14:10-11, 43-46. And they led Jesus away to the high priest, and with him were assembled all the chief priests and the elders and the scribes. And Peter followed him afar off, even into the palace of the high priest. and he sat with the servants and warmed himself at the fire. And the chief priests and all the council sought for witness against Jesus to put him to death, and found none. For many bare false witness against him, but their witness agreed not together. And there arose certain, and bare false witness against him, saying, We heard him say, I will destroy this temple that is made with hands, and within 3 days I will build another made without hands. But neither so did their witness agree together. And the high priest stood up in the midst, and asked Jesus, saying, Answerest thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee? But he held his peace, and answered nothing. Again the high priest asked him, and said unto him, Art thou the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am. And ye shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and coming in the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest rent his clothes, and saith, What need we any further witnesses? Ye have heard the blasphemy. What think ye? And they all condemned him to be guilty of death. And some began to spit on him, and to cover his face, and to buffet him, and to say unto him, Prophesy. And the servants did strike him with the palms of their hands. Mark 14:53-65. And straightway in the morning the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council, and bound Jesus, and carried him away, and delivered him to Pilate. And Pilate asked him, Art thou the king of the Jews? And he answering said unto him, Thou sayest it. And the chief priests accused him of many things. But he answered nothing. But Pilate answered them, saying, Will ye that I release unto you the king of the Jews? For he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy. But the chief priests moved the people, that he should rather release Barabbas unto them. And Pilate answered and said again unto them, What will ye then that I shall do unto him whom ye call the king of the Jews? And they cried out again, Crucify him. Then Pilate said unto them, Why, what evil hath he done? And they cried out the more exceedingly, Crucify him. And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivered Jesus, when he had scourged him, to be crucified. Mark 15:1-3, 9-15. Luke. Again quoting from Smith's Bible Dictionary, we find that Luke was born at Antioch in Syria, and was taught the science of medicine. The well-known tradition that Luke was also a painter, and of no mean skill, rests on the authority of late writers. He was not a Jew. He joined St. Paul at Troas, and shared his journey into Macedonia. With the apostle he passed through Miletus, Tyre and Caesarea to Jerusalem. He probably died a martyr. Between 75 AD and 100 AD, he wrote the Gospel that bears his name, and also the Book of Acts. Page 366. So pertaining to the accountability for Christ's crucifixion, we read from the Gospel of Luke. Woe unto you, talking to the scribes, Pharisees, and lawyers, for ye build the sepulchres of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. Truly ye bear witness that ye allow the deeds of your fathers, for they indeed killed them, and ye build their sepulchres. Therefore also said the wisdom of God, I will send them prophets and apostles, and some of them they shall slay and persecute, that the blood of all the prophets, which was shed from the foundation of the world, may be required of this generation, from the blood of Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, which perished between the altar and the temple. Verily I say unto you, it shall be required of this generation. Luke 11:47-51. But Jesus said unto him, Judas, betrayest thou the Son of Man with a kiss? When they which were about him saw what would follow, they said unto him, Lord, shall we smite with the sword? And one of them smote the servant of the high priest, and cut off his right ear. And Jesus answered and said, Suffer ye thus far. And he touched his ear, and healed him. Then Jesus said unto the chief priests, and captains of the temple, and the elders, which were come to him, Be ye come out, as against a thief, with swords and staves? When I was daily with you in the temple, ye stretched forth no hands against me. But this is your hour, and the power of darkness. Then took they him, and led him, and brought him into the high priest's house. And Peter followed afar off. Luke 22:48-54. And after the crucifixion, behold, 2 of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 60 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. And it came to pass, that, while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near, and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him. And he said unto them, What manner of communications are these that ye have one to another, as ye walk, and are sad? And the one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answering said unto him, Art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and hast not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? And he said unto them, What things? And they said unto him concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and have crucified him. Luke 24:13-20. John. John was the son of Zebedee, a fisherman on the lake of Galilee, and of Salome, and brother of James, also an apostle. Peter and James and John come with the innermost circle of their Lord's friends, but to John belongs the distinction of being the disciple whom Jesus loved. The three are with our Lord when none else are, in the chamber of death, in the glory of the transfiguration, when he forewarns them of the destruction of the holy city, in the agony of Gethsemane. When the betrayal is accomplished, Peter and John follow afar off. The personal acquaintance which existed between John and Caiaphas enables him to gain access to the council chamber, and he follows Jesus thence, even to the praetorium of the Roman procurator. Thence he follows to the place of crucifixion. Later, on the Sea of Galilee, John is the first to recognize in the dim form seen in the morning twilight the presence of his risen Lord, Peter the first to plunge into the water and swim toward the shore where he stood calling to them. The last words of John's Gospel reveal to us the deep affection which united the two friends. Tradition goes on to relate that in the persecution under Domitian, John is taken to Rome, and there, by his boldness, though not by death, gains the crown of martyrdom. Smith's Bible Dictionary, page 315. John's account of the crucifixion, and events leading up to it, is perhaps the most complete of the four Gospels. Afterward Jesus findeth him whom he had healed on the Sabbath in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. The man departed, and told the Jews that it was Jesus, which had made him whole. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus, and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. But Jesus answered them, My Father worketh hitherto, and I work. Therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Then answered Jesus and said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do. For what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. John 5:14-19. From that time many of his disciples went back, and walked no more with him. Then said Jesus unto the 12, Will ye also go away? Then Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? Thou hast the words of eternal life. And we believe and are sure that thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus answered them, Have not I chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil? He spake of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. For he it was that should betray him, being one of the 12. After these things Jesus walked in Galilee. For he would not walk in Jewry, because the Jews sought to kill him. John 6:66-71, 7:1. But when his brethren were gone up, then went he Jesus also up unto the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. Then the Jews sought him at the feast, and said, Where is he? And there was much murmuring among the people concerning him. For some said, He is a good man. Others said, Nay, but he deceiveth the people. Howbeit no man spake openly of him for fear of the Jews. Then said some of them of Jerusalem, Is not this he, whom they seek to kill? But, lo, he speaketh boldly, and they say nothing unto him. Do the rulers know indeed that this is the very Christ? The Pharisees heard that the people murmured such things concerning him, and the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. So there was a division among the people because of him. And some of them would have taken him, but no man laid hands on him. Then came the officers to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said unto them, Why have ye not brought him? The officers answered, Never man spake like this man. Then answered them the Pharisees, Are ye also deceived? Have any of the rulers or of the Pharisees believed on him? John 7:10-13, 7:25-26, 7:32, 43:38. I know that ye Jews which believed on him are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me, because my word hath no place in you. I speak that which I have seen with my father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Jesus saith unto them, If ye were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that hath told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. Ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, We be not born of fornication, we have one Father, even God. Jesus said unto them, If God were your Father, ye would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God, neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? even because ye cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar, and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do ye not believe me? He that is of God heareth God's words. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not of God. Then answered the Jews, and said unto him, Say we not well that thou art a Samaritan, and hast a devil? Jesus answered, I have not a devil, but I honor my Father, and ye do dishonor me. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it, and was glad. Then said the Jews unto him, Thou art not yet 50 years old, and hast thou seen Abraham? Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. Then took they up stones to cast at him. But Jesus hid himself, and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. John 8:37-49, 8:56-59. There was a division therefore again among the Jews for these sayings. And many of them said, He hath a devil, and is mad. Why hear ye him? Others said, These are not the words of him that hath a devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind? I and my Father are one. Then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Jesus answered them, Many good works have I shewed you from my Father, for which of those works do ye stone me? The Jews answered him, saying, For a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, and because that thou, being a man, makest thyself God. If I do not the works of my Father, believe me not. But if I do, though ye believe not me, believe the works, that ye may know and believe that the Father is in me, and I in him. Therefore they sought again to take him. But he escaped out of their hand, and went away again beyond Jordan into the place where John had first baptized, and there he abode. John 10:19-21, 30-33, 37-40. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with gravecleds, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Jesus saith unto them, Loose him, and let him go. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary, and had seen the things which Jesus did, believed on him. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees, and told them what things Jesus had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council, and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. Then from that day forth they took counsel together for to put him to death. Jesus therefore walked no more openly among the Jews, but went thence unto a country near to the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim, and there continued with his disciples. And the Jews' Passover was nigh at hand. And many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover, to purify themselves. Then sought they for Jesus, and spake among themselves, as they stood in the temple, What think ye, that he will not come to the feast? Now both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment, that, if any man knew where he were, he should shew it, that they might take him. Much people of the Jews therefore knew that he was there. And they came not for Jesus' sake only, but that they might see Lazarus also, whom he had raised from the dead. But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus also to death, because that by reason of him many of the Jews went away, and believed on Jesus. John 11:43-48, 53-57, 12:9-11. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh, that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father, nor me. But these things have I told you, that when the time shall come, ye may remember that I told you of them. John 16:2-4. Judas then, having received a band of men and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, cometh thither with lanterns and torches and weapons. Jesus therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth, and said unto them, Whom seek ye? They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus saith unto them, I am he. Then Simon Peter having a sword drew it, and smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Then said Jesus unto Peter, Put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? Then the band and the captain and officers of the Jews took Jesus, and bound him, and led him away to Annas first, for he was father-in-law to Caiaphas, which was the high priest that same year. John 18:3-5, 10-13. Pilate therefore went forth again, and saith unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Jesus forth, wearing the crown of thorns, and the purple robe. And Pilate saith unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Take ye him, and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. John 19:4-6. And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour. And he saith unto the Jews, Behold your king? But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. And they took Jesus, and led him away. John 19:14-16. It is interesting to note that throughout the above passages from the four Gospels, the following names have been repeated over and over as those being responsible for the death of Christ: chief priests, scribes, elders, Pharisees, all the council, Pilate, captains of the temple, rulers and officers, and Jews, at least a segment of the Jews. In summary, then, these four important testimonies include the following incriminating statements. 1. It was a segment of the Jews who persecuted Jesus and sought to slay him. 2. Judas betrayed Jesus to the Jews, not to the Romans. 3. People at that time hesitated to speak favorably of Jesus for fear of the Jews. 4. It was the Pharisees and the chief priests who sent officers to capture him. 5. The Jews took up stones to kill him. 6. The chief priests, scribes, elders and Pharisees all tried to devise secret plans to put him to death. 7. Jesus told his followers that they, too, would be killed by the Jews. 8. The chief priests cried from the streets to crucify him. 9. Pilate found no fault in Jesus, but still delivered him to the chief priests to be crucified. 10. The chief priests and Pharisees were afraid they would lose their place and nation if they didn't kill Jesus.